I love how In the Fade takes us through myriad conceptions of what terrorism is and the social perceptions of it, and that it begins with the police just inherently the bias and prejudice, suspecting that the victim of the attack somehow was involved in some crime, and they initially resist the notion that it was white supremacists who do it. Then we find out it's a racist hate attack, and then of course the vengeance motive arising. Can you talk about how the idea first came to you, and the congealing of those different approaches to kind of set us up, and then a few times you pull the rug out from under us by exposing our own subconscious biases while watching the film and what we think terrorism is?
This film is based upon a real case. It's based upon the so-called NSU attacks. NSU stands for National Socialistic Underground, and this is a terror group who killed between 2000 and 2010 10 people, 9 immigrants and 1 German police officer. And they used, all the police knew was they were using the same gun. Before we knew who did it, the press and the media, thought those killings were done by the victims itself. Just because the victims were Turkish or Kurdish, or Greek, they must have to do anything with the mafia. These are mobsters, that's why they killed each other, So once it came out that these killings were done by Nazis, by neo-Nazis, my impression was they killed the victims 2 times. They killed them in reality, but then they also killed somehow their honor, right? Because they didn't let the victims be victims, They didn't let the leftovers, left behinds, the mothers or the daughters or, I don't know, the parents of those who lost somebody, they didn't let them suffer. It was the opposite. They were suspicious, and they were witnesses for a criminal activity. And when all this came up in 2011, not by successful police investigation, but by chance, by random, that made me he was an opportunity that I could portray my anger, and portray what does it mean to be a leftover, So that film gave me that opportunity to express certain feelings of mine.
Is there, I don't know if it was just me because of my own feelings right now about the insanity that's happening in our own society here in the United States, but I perceived a subtext of messaging about the issue of how structures and institutions in a civil society might sometimes feel inadequate to address the threat that white supremacy and Nazism actually poses to those societies and those very institutions.
Well, look, democracy is not a guarantee. Democracy is not, you cannot get democracy, I don't know, at a whole store or at Harrods in London. It's it doesn't come with the mail, and it doesn't grow on trees. Democracy is something what we, mankind, achieved in a couple of thousand years, but it's so fragile because all these powers all over the world, these fascist powers, they use the opportunity democracy gave them, by voting, by, I don't know, spreading fears, using the social network, So democracy is a very fragile thing, and we have to defend it. It's not other people who defend democracy for us. That sounds like very moral kind of stuff, but that's the truth, It's what John F. Kennedy once said, don't ask what the country do for you, ask what you can do for your country. That's the true thing, and it's really the truth. That this is what I would try to teach my children to in order to stop certain fascistic forces,
Thank you very much. I appreciate you taking time to speak with me about it.
Welcome,
I love the
man.
film.
You're
It's
welcome.
wonderful.